Some of the biggest environmental problems arise from the emissions of substances into the atmosphere that changes the balance on our planet. The amount of emissions expressed in tons of carbon dioxide, CO2, associated with all the activities of a person or other entity, such as a product or organisation, is called the carbon footprint. The carbon footprint of a product includes all greenhouse gas emissions throughout its life cycle, from raw material extraction to final disposal. There are two types of emissions associated with a company's organisation: direct emissions, which comes from sources owned or controlled by the company, or indirect emissions, which are a consequence of the company's activities, but whose sources are controlled by third parties. Individuals also contribute to the production of greenhouse gases, and their carbon footprint is calculated taking into account various aspects of daily life. All activities related to domestic energy consumption and transport represent the primary footprint, while we can define as secondary footprint all emissions related to the consumption of goods and services such as food, beverages, clothing, books, but also telephones, television and motor vehicles. But how much CO2 is produced by ordinary items? For 100 grams of bottled water, 160 grams are emitted. A plasma TV operating for 1 hour emits 220 grams, and charging the phone generates almost the same amount as the 1.5 kilometres a car travels, i.e. 250 grams. Now let's calculate the greenhouse gas emissions generated by the production, processing and transportation of some common foods. 1 kilogram of tomatoes produces the same emissions as a car driving less than 1 kilometre. 1 kilogram of tuna, the same as 2 or 3 kilometres. And 1 kilogram of beef is equivalent to a car driving 11 kilometres. As in the food pyramid, the products that are consumed in smaller quantities are the same ones that cause a greater environmental impact. Transportation also produces emissions. Did you know that 1 kilometre by car alone produces 171 grams of CO2, while by bus it's only 27 grams? The advent of technology has revolutionised the world. Today, offices rely on electronic devices, which reduces paper consumption but ignores the fact that the telematic transmission of data releases CO2 emissions estimated at 1 billion and 850 million cubic tonnes per year. Everyday activities such as a Google search or sending an email contribute to this problem, as opposed to a phone call or text message. These emissions are subsumed under the concept of the digital carbon footprint. How can I reduce my daily carbon footprint? Limit unnecessary searches on the internet. Do not use disposable materials. Adjust the temperature of rooms. Prefer sustainable and seasonal food. Avoid buying bottled water whenever possible. Depending on how we eat, dress and travel, our ecological footprint becomes larger or smaller. By seeking alternative lifestyles, we respect the planet we live on.